We're just a little fast on the clock on the wall, so wait a few seconds. Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock, Tuesday, November 5th. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, so at this time it is Commissioner Nguyen's to do the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, as the election approaches, we seek to better understand the issues and concerns that confront our city, state, and country, and how the gospel compels us to respond as faithful citizens in our community. We ask for the grace to see each other as brothers and sisters, one and equal in dignity, especially those we disagree with. We ask for minds and hearts that are open to hearing your love and the voice of those around us. We also pray for discernment so that we may choose leaders who hear your word, live your love, and keep in the ways of your truth. Importantly, guide all citizens of Garden City in love and move our hearts to serve one another in charity and joy. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Next, we have approval of the minutes of the last regular meeting, which, if there are no corrections, shall stand approved.
Just a minor typo is all.
Okay. We'll get that noted. Next is public comment. This is a time for anyone in the audience who wishes to come and address anything that is not on the agenda. They'll have 5 minutes, and then if you please state your name for the record. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 6.
Mayor and Commissioners, item 6A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Matt and Michelle Steele to allow the mayor to proclaim the city of Garden City as a just served city. And Matt and Michelle are present. If you'd like them to speak to the Just Serve organization and its application here locally in Garden City.
Sure, yeah. Matt and Michelle, would you like to come up and offer some comments?
Sure.
Thank you.
We're the Steeles. We've been members of the City of Garden City for about 30 years and been involved in community service. Recently, we participated with the city as a cleanup project. And after that project, we applied to our organization that we represent, Just Serve, that's sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, an organization that allows Just Serve is an organization that brings volunteers to places that need, people who desire to be volunteers to organizations that need volunteer help. And so we applied to them to be recognized as a volunteer city of the city, a Just Serve city. They accepted our invitation and need a proclamation from the city.
Okay. Well, thank you. So you're on the center of both realms as far as going out for projects that need assistance and also the volunteers who are looking for those projects. So you're acting as the mediator for both both pieces.
Correct.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. No, I was able to look at your website, which was really interesting. And in Kansas, I'll tell you, there's only Wichita or that area, so this would be a really neat opportunity. So can you tell me the benefits of the Just Serve program for our city, or what you see as the benefits as we continue going on? It looks like a really great organization.
Sure. In our last community service project, we specifically targeted churches to try to bring churches together to kind of separate the difference between religious beliefs, but come together as people to help build and strengthen communities through acts of service. So that's what we really kind of hope to do, is bring us all together as citizens of Garden City in a place that we could make a difference.
Nice. Well, no, it was an interesting read on the website, so I really appreciate it. I had never heard of it before. I don't know if any of you had or not, but it was really fascinating. So,
Yeah. Thank you, Matt and Michelle. Any other questions?
I move that we approve the proclamation as presented.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. And I do have the proclamation here, so I can read it, and then we can take some pictures afterward. Is that okay?
Thank you.
All right. So, whereas we firmly believe that the values of compassion, empathy, and community support are the foundation of united, harmonious society and fosters connections that transcend differences, and whereas the strength and prosperity of our cities, towns, and villages are based in the selflessness of its residents to serve and uplift one another. And whereas we acknowledge the profound impact that can be achieved when we extend a helping hand to our neighbors, especially those of diverse backgrounds, and lifting them up and collectively working to improve lives. And whereas we nurture a culture of giving within our cities, emphasizing that volunteerism is not just a duty, but a source of personal fulfillment and community strength. And as we work side by side with learn from each other, mutual understanding increases, misconceptions can be corrected, and new friendships are built. And whereas we urge all citizens to care for one another, volunteer, and engage in acts of service and kindness that contribute to our city's betterment and its inhabitants' well-being, regardless of background or belief. And whereas the City of Garden City has joined a growing list of supporters, including the president of the National League of Cities and hundreds of leaders to date, in making a commitment to volunteerism. Now, therefore, I, Manny Ortiz, Mayor of the City of Garden City, do hereby proclaim the City of Garden City as Just Serve City and commits to promoting volunteerism, leveraging justserve.org to make it easier for residents to find and engage in volunteer opportunities, and will regularly acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of volunteers. Signed and sealed this 5th day of November.
All right.
Mayor Ortiz, can you take just a second to just highlight a few of the things that we have been involved in here in the city that kind of, I don't think it gets the recognition that it needs, and I'm hoping that the pamphlets that we handed out to everybody, after you've had a chance to look at it, pass it on to somebody that you know who needs volunteer helps in their organizations. We have worked with Genesis, with LiveWell, with the food bank. We are working now with them to try to bring a lot of volunteers, because once that gets up and running, there's going to be a big need for volunteers there. And so throughout the community, we've done the Legacy Run. All of these organizations are incredible, and yet they all are run by volunteers, and it's very hard to come up with all the help that you need. And so a lot of people in their older years don't have kind of a resource to know where to go. And so this website really gives people a chance to be able to just go to the website, find something that is of your interest, so that you can get on and say, sure, I can go help out at Catholic Charities, I can go here. And it really brings together a unity and a place where we can all help. And one of the things, as we turn this in and you become a Just Serve City, our hope is that we'll become a global Just Serve City. And when you do that, you can have an opportunity to look for people within the community who give hours and hours of service.
Right.
And have a hero every so often that we want to choose from the community and kind of encourage service. And one of the reasons why I feel like it's so important is because of the benefits that it has for young people. And there are so many studies that have been done about service, and when young people go out and serve, it lessens their mental illness, it lessens their suicidal thoughts. It really creates a different world for them when they look outward to serve other people, and it also gives them life skills that will be theirs forever as we get them in a different space. And I know we have a lot of different nationalities here. It brings us all together to just care for one another, create a more beautiful city, and come together to make our home a better place. So
Right.
I hope that you'll share those pamphlets that we've given you, and let's get this word out that we use this and really get it going.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. It does benefit a lot of people, and I love the fact that you put it that way, and that's, we'll be glad to share this information with everyone we know. So let's get a picture.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you all.
Commissioners, item 6B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Lynn Anderson with the Garden City Education Association to proclaim the week of November 18th through 22nd, 2024 as American Education Week in Garden City.
Mayor, I make the motion we approve the proclamation as presented.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion pass.
Is that proclamation being read at an event?
He'll
Yeah,
be reading
okay.
at an event on the 18th.
Item 6C then, if you're ready, we'll move on. The governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Women Impacting Public Policy and Small Business Saturday Coalition to allow the mayor to proclaim November 30th, 2024 as Small Business Saturday in the city of Garden City.
May I move the proclamation as presented?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion pass.
Item 6D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Michaela Morse with MM Fitness to waive the sign ordinance and right-of-way restrictions to have a banner placed on the Fleming Street and Mary Street fence from November 5th through 10th, 2024 for a 5K turkey trot event. And as with previous requests on this same piece of property and this same fence, you're waiving its adherence to the code. This is a fence owned by the school district, and the school district's approval would be required to hang it on there. But this kind of clears out any code violation if you approve it.
I make the motion we approve the request as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion pass. Matt, just to go back for the Small Business Saturday proclamation.
Oh, yeah.
Does that need,
Oh, I don't know. Are there
Is-
representatives here from either of the groups, Women Impacting Public Policy or Small Business Saturday Coalition?
just don't want to miss anybody,
Yeah,
so.
if you haven't been asked to present that at any particular event, it might be good to go ahead and read that proclamation.
Okay. And proclamation for the Small Business
Yeah.
Saturday. Okay, let's go ahead and read that. So, whereas the city of Garden City, Kansas celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, and whereas according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 34.7 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses representing 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 61.1% of net new jobs created since 1995. And small businesses employ 45.9% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the U.S. stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas 59% of U.S. consumers are aware of Small Business Saturday shopped or ate at a small independently owned retailer or restaurant on Small Business Saturday 2023. And whereas Garden City, Kansas supports our local businesses and that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving, a Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, Manny Ortiz, Mayor of City of Garden City, do hereby proclaim November 30th, 2024 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday, celebrating its 15th year in 2024, and shop small throughout the year. Signed and sealed this 5th day of November 2024.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we're ready for item 7A. The governing body is being presented an update of the 2024-2025 City Commission Strategic Goals and Objectives Plan. Staff has been working on the goals that you all have laid out for us in your retreat in early March. If the commission has comments or questions regarding the status updates on any of these items provided, I encourage you to do so at this portion of the meeting.
Well, I'm like in reviewing some of these, I think some of these are, I was thinking about really us having a seat at the table, but whether or not they're a goal the commission should lead or we should have our staff lead. And so, there's a couple of those I wanted to make sure, and we can do a check-in if that works for you, Mayor, or?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Could you talk a little bit more about what you mean by lead?
Well, I always say when we put on a goal onto our agenda, then I'm assuming the staff is saying, hey, we need to take the lead or we need to be an integral part in that. And I think some of these things, maybe we need to have a seat at the table or be, of course, we're always going to be included, but it might not be something that we would spend some staff time on when there's so much, for them to do. And also, I think this idea of really making sure we spend our priority and our dollars, our staff's time, really where it's going to make the biggest difference, especially for the city as a whole.
I do think one thing on the top of my head, though, that comes up year after year that it's kind of difficult to make progress on seems to be the State Theater and also the Windsor.
Yeah. The Windsor's hard to me because we don't own the property. I know that economic development in the city has been very supportive of the property and seeing something done with it, but when you don't own the property and you really have no control or a seat on the board or anything, I think it's understandable that we care about the Windsor, but what happens might not be something that I think a seat at the table or an invitation, but maybe that's not a goal for us.
Mm-hmm. And then also I wonder if there's a lot of difficulty trying to figure out how it would work for the city to advocate for bus lines and the necessity for maybe even a gas station at the airport.
Okay. Any other items that maybe just take note of so when we do come across the conversations, we can bring those up?
Well, again, it goes back to, these are the goals that we set. We put, we received dots, and we put dots on each one of these to kind of move these projects forward to have staff work on. So it's something that we need to probably be cognizant of during our goal-setting retreat when we start making these decisions. I know at the time they're important in our minds, but again, we need to probably focus on the direction we really want our staff to follow and to help us move the community forward in a positive direction. I know a lot of them the majority of them are important, but again, they're what we set at our goal-setting retreat. It's something that one of us, as one of the commissioners, thought was very important to have staff either look at, research, move forward on in some manner to bring to us to move forward on, where we put that dot on there. And then, they cleaned that up, put it in a document for us, and then they came to us and we approved this document. So probably put in the back of our minds for next year when we're going through the goal-setting retreat to kind of look at this and analyze it a little better. Because now we're going, they've worked on this, but now we're looking at going, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Does this really fit into the scope of what we want staff working on? So,
Well, I think every year we get better. I know
Right.
that we get better at the process. I know the process has kind of changed and we've had different iterations, and I agree with you. I think this idea of where we spend our dots, if that's how we choose to do that, are very important. And I think being very conscious of, the other one was the healthcare. We think that's very important, but what, other than promoting, knowing that we need healthcare and we need regional providers of healthcare, is that something, that we can really do?
and again, maybe it goes back to what you first stated, is if we just had a seat at the table, if there was
Yep.
a committee or something working on this, if we had just recognized that we had a seat at the table where we could give our input from the city side of things,
Yep, I agree.
And I do appreciate the comments, and it comes down to the document, is it fulfilling your satisfaction on those goals that we wrote down, and is staff putting down the information that we see fit for their work, which a lot of it, they've done a lot of work with. So I think if there is something on here that we need to identify that needs a little more work, then we can definitely do that, and prepare ourselves for that retreat when it comes time.
If I've heard, I don't want to stop the discussion, but if I can maybe change the context just a little bit, I've heard of 6 of them brought up. If we were to create either a work session or a business meeting agenda item and kind of set the table on those 6 for kind of little, I guess micro votes or micro consensus on around each one of them of, hey, we're going to dig in here. We think this is the way that we'll go about between now and February or March when you do a retreat again, trying to make progress on this issue. Or, the commission could also say on that one goal, you know what? You've explored kind of what our role is. You've talked about where in the community this decision's being made. You've done your work, staff. We may engage on a policy effort and kind of outreach or visiting with those who may be in control of the issue. But for now, that's enough work on that issue until we decide what our next step is. So if we could set those 6 items and any more you want to add to that list that sort of fit in the same vein, up for kind of a little bit more detailed check-in, that's helpful. Because I would say, I think our list of, maybe not so much the State Theater, we know we own that. We know that we need to tee that up for the commission making the next decision on what it is you'd like to do with that. But I would say those other 5 issues kind of hang out there for us as we're not entirely sure what to do with this beyond what maybe we've listed already in the progress report. So I think that's a fair check-in item. If you don't mind us trying to figure out internally if that's better suited for a workshop or if there's a business item component to it.
Maybe like you said, just surveying the commission, sending out an email surveying the commission to see if that's enough direction or.
Yeah, I want to be careful to not be doing something that should otherwise be done in a public meeting under kind of open meetings act stuff.
I mean, I think a work session
That's almost a
makes sense.
quasi vote. So I'd rather set you all up to do it in an environment like this, or it would be appropriate for a workshop too.
Well, and I
because you
think
may
one of
not
the
be
things that
voting.
are really driving some of these decisions, I think also, is this was a really tough budget year. I mean, I know this is one of those years where we really had to make some hard decisions, and I think that also says, so if we're going to have to make hard decisions, and if budget years are going to be tight in the future, what does that look like going forward? And so I do think maybe, I really appreciate Commissioner Cessna really being more conscientious, especially about where we're going to spend our staff time and dollars. And so thinking about, do we limit the number so we can increase our success and get the maximum benefit? And I think that a work session would be probably a really great opportunity to do that. So
I think
Good
additionally,
feedback.
Yeah, I think additionally though, of the 6 or however many were, I think it would also be helpful to get a more consensus specific which item to be instead of the ones that were named here. If that makes instead of one person being the loudest voice.
Sure, that would work.
The ones I've written down in no particular order: bus lines, State Theater, Windsor Hotel. Actually, I wrote bus lines down twice, so there's only 5. The airport gas station and healthcare, our involvement in healthcare.
And I think if there are any other items, as I read through these, I kind of ask the question why. Like, is there an actual outcome to this process? If I didn't have enough information given, then is there a why that there wasn't any clarification or further discussion on that? Then I could star that and bring it up, and I'd be glad to elaborate on those topics. I don't have any yet, but if there were, then I think other than the 5 that were mentioned, but we can definitely go across those in another session.
And I think the update and the way we formatted this goals update document this year, which is different in the years past, is to give the commission a little bit more touch points into the staff's work from year to year. and to be able to course correct if it wasn't the way that the commission felt comfortable with us going about it. So, I would say it's items where there's either not progress or it's progress different than what maybe you anticipated or understood to be the action steps that we laid out to be. Or if you're, maybe questioning at this point, is this something, I know we brought it up, but is this something that is within the purview of city government? I think this is kind of the opportunity maybe to, call attention to that, and then we organize some group discussion around it. The feedback about how we go about goal setting retreat and all that, I think we can take those comments back and actually do some pre-planning heading into next year's retreat, so that the kind of these maybe outlier things that have had a presence on our goals document may go through more scrutiny on your part before they become part of the goals document. The one thing that all of these share in common is that they weren't necessarily highly valued across the board, which you represent in that dot exercise as the presence of dots. They're all ones that only received one dot. So they're lighter shaded in the goals, the ones with the more intense shade or more intense hue of that particular color. Like on the board, this one's red when it's light red or pink like that. Those were kind of less supported ones across the board, where these were more supported ones. And that's kind of how we have this document structured. So the one thing these all share in common is they weren't necessarily the leading issues for the commission when you thought about what's most important to us in the coming year. These were important enough to affix a dot to or a sticker to, but maybe not leading the charge.
And I understand CIP kicks off this evening.
It does,
So
yeah.
there might be some new information that gets brought up in the further findings of that process.
Oh, for sure.
Well, and I think the hard thing in the past, we always saw this document as really static, that really didn't have a dynamic opportunity to change. But, as things have evolved this year, especially with needing a new law enforcement center or needing a place to house our police department, I mean, to me, that supersedes a lot of these, and that's not even on here. And so, I thought about, so what are some things that we don't have on here that really become very important for the commission to make sure that, we as a commission and staff really do work on. And I was thinking, that, but I've always seen this as a static document and really not something dynamic, and maybe that's something that I need to change in my thinking, or we as a commission can really address. So what does that look like as the landscape changes in our community?
And you're right, over the years, kind of our procedures and our goal-setting retreat, have changed on procedures and things that we've done with different commissions. And just, the input that the commissions have given staff on how to do this. So, again, it's probably something good to look at and just kind of discuss amongst the commissioners on how we really proceed forward, and how, again, staff uses their time to really help us move the community forward. There's a lot of good things on this document that we hear from our citizens, that we see through the CIP. Again, going back to what you said, it's a tough year because of budget, but still, a lot of these goals, the majority of these goals, are things that will help us not only now, but in the future, make Garden City really the regional hub of Western Kansas. So, we have to put that contextually as well. But I agree that, there's things that do come up, kind of like what you mentioned with the LEC, where we're trying to look for a new location for our police department staff that isn't on this document that we really need to focus on too. So, I don't know if there was something, I don't know where that was going. I'm agreeing, I guess I'm agreeing,
Right.
but I'm saying that, it's good to keep your eye on the ball, give us updates, which the staff has done a lot. If you read the document, the staff has done a lot of work on a lot of these items, and it's, there's a lot of these items that, it's kind of in the beginning stages, or to get things the process moving or rolling. So that's kind of, that's where other commissions have started things, you know, you've heard it from the community, the staff's worked on it, and now you can kind of see that fruition of the, kind of getting that ball rolling, and now we got things moving in our community, which other communities don't have, so.
Okay, great. Commissioner Landgraf, anything to add? Okay. I will move on to the other three if there's not any comments on the airport
Yeah, sure.
or sales tax receipts.
Yeah, 7B and C are monthly staff reports. If you have questions on those, we'd be happy to answer them. If there
Just
are,
really good numbers on the, you know, on the employments in Fly Garden City, and definitely the sales tax receipts that we've seen, so
Yeah.
hopefully both of them will make a record for this year on both of those numbers.
certainly on pace.
Well, I can't believe Garden City, like the other three airports that we track, I mean, Garden City is almost double, even if you add all those together. So just an excellent job by the staff out there, but also the decision to really do a new terminal has made a huge difference, so.
All right, thank you. 7D is the update from Cox Communications on their basic cable channel lineup changes. They're required to present those as part of their franchise with the city. Item 8 is meetings of note. Would again draw special attention to tomorrow night's Southwest Kansas Coalition meeting at Garden City Regional Airport. Our friends from the city of Dodge City and city of Liberal will be joining us there. And also, I think today is the last day to RSVP for the November 12th Southwest Kansas Chambers Legislative Agenda Appreciation Dinner. So if you are interested or planning on going, please get with Celine after this meeting, and so she can RSVP for you.
Are we carpooling on that one, or has there been carpooling?
I'm sure that's possible.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Item 9 is the appropriation ordinance, and if approved, it would be appropriation ordinance number 2574-2024A.
Mayor, I move we approve appropriation ordinance number 2574-2024A.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed.
If you bear with me, item 10A has a person calling in. Or no, not calling in. I'm calling in person.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tyler.
Hi, Tylen. This is Matt Allen, City Manager for the City of Garden City. You're in a City Commission meeting right now, and we're getting ready to start your agenda item. If you can hear me loud and clear, we'll go ahead and get started. And when the commission has a question of you, if you can't hear that, I'll re-ask that to you, okay?
Perfect time, Matt. Please proceed.
All right. Item 10A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the attached resolution allowing Garden City to participate in the Kansas Moderate Income Housing Grant Program for Petra Residences Garden City project on behalf of Petra Investment Partners, LLC. If approved, this would be resolution number 3136. Danielle?
Good afternoon, Mayor and
Dash
Commissioners. The Kansas Moderate Income Housing, or MIH program, allows cities incorporated in Kansas with a population fewer of 60,000 to request grants and loans for infrastructure and/or housing developments in rural communities. Grants or loans under this program will be limited to no more than $650,000 per awardee. The Kansas Housing Investor Tax Credit, KHITC, program allows for housing projects within counties of a population of fewer than 75,000 to apply for tax credits under this program as well. Communities must have a stated need for housing that has been determined by our most recent 2024 chat report that you all looked at a previous city commission meeting. And there remains a need for moderate housing in Garden City. Governments for these programs apply on behalf of the developers, and a resolution of support is required by the governing body to give the city the authority to apply for and participate in the program. This cycle, we have one project, Petra Residences Garden City project, for this fourth round of funding for 2024. This property is generally located along Jenny Barker north of Highway 156, and the developer is asking for an MIH grant and KHITC to use for development costs to construct approximately 40 units of both 1 and 2 bedroom units. It's anticipated that there will be about 20 of each respective units. In the attached maps, those are shown in buildings A and B, and we've drawn a little boundary around that. This project does require and has submitted a rezoning application, and it fits with the proposed comprehensive plan. So with that, there are two alternatives before you. The first is to approve the resolution as drafted to support the MIH and KHITC application. The other would to be not to approve the resolution as presented. Staff recommends alternative 1, and the governing body approving the resolution to support the MIH and KHITC application for this particular project. There's no fiscal impact to the city for submitting an application. I would be happy to answer any questions you have. We also have Tylen on the phone with Petra, who I'm sure would be more than happy to answer questions as well.
My only question is, as far as this this development, are these tax credits imperative so that they can continue or get started with everything like that, or?
I would ask Tylen to answer that question. He's probably a little more well-versed in that. I can speak generally if he's not able to answer it, though.
Tylen, did you hear that question, or would you like me to re-ask it?
Please repeat that now.
Are the tax credit funds imperative to construct the project proposed?
Yes, great question, but most definitely, construction costs are continuing to go up, and we need both MIH and the tax credit funds to get this stuff built, especially with the rents are coming up very quickly in this area, but we do need to cover that gap and make these where we're not asking Kansas City rent for Garden City. I think that's a bad approach.
No, I appreciate that. So are these competitive grants, just to make sure I understand?
They
Okay.
are, yes.
And the application, this looks like a pretty competitive application, especially with our chat study, but I'm just, okay.
Yes, I think it will be. This is a version of this project has been before you all previously in a couple earlier rounds of MIH and tax credit programming. So yes, there continues to be a need, and this is kind of the new, an updated version of this particular project to try to get some additional housing in this part of the city.
Nope, I appreciate that.
A general question that I have, just what do you think the timeline is to, I know we need it yesterday, but realistically, when do you think groundbreaking would happen?
Tylen, the question is, realistically, when do you expect groundbreaking to happen if you're awarded the tax credits and MIH?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. So to answer that question, the application goes in later this month. They will take every bit of 2, if not 3 months to let us know. In the meantime, we've been working on this for quite some time, and I've had incredible help from staff and Matt and everybody else, and especially the Economic Development Group, trying to get us through the platting and zoning situation in this location. So we're working that in tandem. We already own this ground. We definitely want to develop it. Long-term, the duplexes do not need all this funding, but the vertical apartment building does. So to answer your question directly, if we are awarded, we won't be awarded until probably the early spring of next year. We'll spend a couple months on the final design. We've had a couple of these different designs, but there will be some different things we'll put into here. We'll finish up the design and start construction. Our hope is that we would start by the middle to late summer of next year. To build these 2 buildings are probably, I assume this is your next question, so I'll just throw it out there, but I'm assuming that it'll take us somewhere between 12 and 14 months to build these 2 buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Any other questions?
I make a motion, we approve Resolution 3136-2024.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion pass.
Thank you, Tyler, for taking the call. Your item passed.
Thank you, Matt. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Mayor and Commissioners, item 10B. The governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance rezoning from I-2 medium industrial to C2 general commercial, the property generally located at 1404 West Mary Street. And if approved, this would be ordinance number 2999-2024.
Good afternoon.
Dante.
On behalf of Carlos Electric, the applicant requests to rezone the property generally located at 1404 West Mary Street from I-2 Medium Industrial District to C2 General Commercial District. The property contains approximately 3.91 acres, is currently vacant, and the owner intends to construct an event venue. Event venues are a permitted use within the C2 district, but not within the I-2 district. The proposed use conforms with the Garden City Comprehensive Plan's future land use map, which identifies this property as mixed-use potential that generally consists of commercial and residential uses. The surrounding property zoning district includes the GC General Commercial District and I-2 Medium Industrial District. Given the commercial and industrial districts and uses surrounding the property, the proposed use conforms with the neighborhood and will have no adverse effects on the nearby properties. If approved, the development is required to go through the site plan and building plan review process before the issuance of any building permits. The governing body may make its decision and state its finding according to the criteria in section 27.040, which is listed in the staff report. The Planning Commission made its recommended approval of the proposed rezoning request at the October 17th, 2024 meeting. There are three alternatives in front of you. The governing body may adopt the Planning Commission's recommendation by approving the proposed ordinance. 2, the governing body may override the Planning Commission's recommendation by a 2/3 majority vote. And 3, the governing body may return the recommendation to the Planning Commission with a statement specifying the basis for the governing body's failure to approve or disapprove. Staff recommends the governing body adopt the Planning Commission's recommendation and approve the proposed ordinance, and there is no fiscal impact. I'm happy to answer any questions, and there is a representative for the applicant here today as well.
Mayor, I make a motion, we approve ordinance number 2999-2024.
Second.
Just for clarity, Dante, the map shows that there's a vacant lot on each side. Is there a building on one of those properties?
There's a building on the property to the west. The aerial just isn't updated.
Okay. So it's not just like a spot zoning for this area, correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion pass.
Thank you.
Item 10C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a resolution establishing a date and time for a public hearing regarding an unsafe, dangerous structure for the property located at 2808 North Taylor Avenue for January 7th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. If approved, it would be resolution number 3137-2024. Trent.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Before you today, I'm asking the governing body to consider approving a resolution establishing a date and time for a public hearing regarding an unsafe dangerous structure for the property located at 2808 North Taylor Avenue for the January 7th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. Background to this, following the receipt of the report and statement of unsafe and dangerous structures, the governing body may set a public hearing at which the owner, the owner's agent, any lien holders of record, and any occupants of the structure can appear before the governing body and show cause as to why the structure should not be ordered, repaired, or demolished as an unsafe structure. The procedures pursuant to the Chapter 18, Article 8, I believe, of the City Code, and pursuant to the KSA 12-1750 through 12-1756. The date and time proposed in the resolution is January 7, 2025, 1:30 p.m. Attached is the report and statement of unsafe/dangerous structures. Multiple inspections and investigations were made by myself and other city staff to determine whether the structure is unsafe and dangerous. Alternatives before you today: number one, the governing body may approve the attached resolution. Number two, the governing body may not approve the attached resolution. Staff's recommendation: the governing body may approve the attached resolution. And for the fiscal note, there is no fiscal impact by setting the public hearing.
Has the owner of the property been in contact, Trent, or have you been in contact with him? Are they responsive as far as understanding what's been happening with the property?
I've been in contact with them periodically. They don't live here. They've been in litigation. They've expressed interest to do something with it, but it's been going on for some time
Since 22.
the two fire damages have occurred. We have boarded it up recently. We have towed cars. We've had graffiti complaints and addressed that. So mowed it. I mean, we've been more the caretaker of it than
Right.
the property owner at this time. So
I move that we approve the attached resolution.
I second.
Do I need to state the resolution, Matt?
3137-2024.
Okay.
With consensus. We're good.
Yeah, go ahead and restate that motion there.
Yeah, I move that we approve resolution number 3137-2024, a resolution of the governing body of the City of Garden City fixing the time and place in which the owner's agent, and lien holders of record, or any occupant of the structure with the community known and unknown, and numbered as a Dusty Trail Inn at 2808 North Taylor Plaza, Garden City, to be January 7th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Thanks, Trent.
Thanks, Trent. The governing body is, item 10D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an environmental nuisance resolution. If approved, it would be Resolution 3138-2024 and abate conditions at 1803 Julie Street. Trent.
all right. So for your consideration, we have a nuisance violation at 1803 Julie Street. It is a refrigerator located on the exterior of the property. We have sent multiple notices to this property owner. One, or the first, on September 18th of 2024, and the second on October 4th of 2024. We have been unable to reach the occupants and or owners with the violations. So before you today, the alternatives are: alternative number one, the governing body may approve the attached resolution, which will allow us to get that abated. Number two, the governing body may not approve the attached resolution. The recommendation from staff is that the governing body may approve the attached resolution. The fiscal note is the abatement costs incurred by the city shall be charged to the lots or parcels of ground associated with the environmental nuisance on which it's located.
Mayor, I make the motion we approve Resolution 3138-2024.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve publishing a notice of budget hearing for amending the 2024 budget to reflect actual 2024 expenditures. The proposed date and time of the hearing is December 3rd, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. Jared.
Good afternoon. Throughout the year, city staff compares actual and estimated expenditures to the authorized budget. Due to changes in programs, cash carryover, and additional revenues, there's sometimes a need to amend the authorized budget. Proposed are the following funds to amend for justification and the justification for this year: the Capital Improvement Reserve, the FinUp Trust, Emergency Shelter Grant, Project Development, Capital Improvement Plan, Golf Course, and Golf Course Improvement. This agenda item would authorize the publication of a notice of budget hearing for these amendments, making them known in advance to the public, of the meeting to the public, so that they may be informed and have an opportunity to come speak to the City Commission on the matter prior to your consideration and adopting of the amendments. Most of these funds are kind of an annual renewal that we typically have an amendment for. The rest saw increases of revenue, so there's some additional expenditures going on in those budgets. The alternatives before you today are that the governing body may approve publication of the notice of budget hearing for amending the 2024 budget, setting the time and date of the hearing for 1:30 p.m. December 3rd, 2024, or the governing body may not approve the publication of the notice of budget hearing and provide further direction to staff. Staff recommends the governing body approve publication of the notice of budget hearing for amending the 2024 budget, setting the time and date of the hearing for 1:30 p.m. December 3rd, 2024, and there's no fiscal impact for this item. Happy to answer any questions.
I make a motion, we approve the budget hearing notice for December 3rd, 2024 at 1:30.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jared. Mayor and Commissioners, item 12B also has somebody we're to call for that item, so bear with me.
Hi, you've reached Stetson Snell. Sorry I missed your call. Please leave your name, number.
Okay, if there's questions for Mr. Snell, we'll try back. Item 12B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a memorandum of understanding between the City of Garden City and SNK Cinema Holdings Group, Inc., doing business as Icon Cinemas. Danielle.
Good afternoon again, Mayor and Commissioners. SNK Cinema Holdings Group, doing business as Icon Cinemas, has reached out to the City of Garden City, interested in developing property generally located at the 2800 block of East Highway 156. The project is anticipated to include 2 iconic mega cinema screens, a beer and wine bar, a 14-lane duckpin bowling alley, an arcade area with arcade games and virtual reality elements, an outdoor theater and concert venue, and a beer garden, and related concession and kitchen areas. The Memorandum of Understanding outlines the anticipated project costs along with the anticipated public contributions, including but not limited to tax increment financing, community improvement district, special obligation bonds, and other city incentives. There will be several future city commission actions required related to this project for each of those different mechanisms, but this initiates the process to begin that development process. City Bond Counsel Mary Carson has assisted in the preparation of this proposed memorandum of understanding, and it has been reviewed and approved by the developer. There are two alternatives before you. The first is the governing body may approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Garden City and SNK Cinema Holdings Group, Inc., doing business as Icon Cinemas as written. Or alternative 2, the governing body may not approve the memorandum of understanding and provide staff with alternative direction. Staff recommends the governing body approve the MOU between the City of Garden City and SNK Cinemas Holding Group, Inc., doing business as Icon Cinemas as written. As it relates to the fiscal note, the MOU does not constitute a binding obligation of either party, but rather outlines the anticipated tools that are expected to be used as part of this project. A number of future action items will be brought before you as each of these tools moves forward. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and if you have questions for the developer, we can certainly try to give him a call back. I know he's on the road as we speak.
So, go ahead.
Just in regards to the Highway 156, would we anticipate the interactions with KDOT as well for this type of development?
Yes, so as we go through this whole process, we'll bring them in when we really start to talk through the site plan and those types of things. And this is directly south of the Petra project that you all just approved a resolution for. So all of that traffic will be considered together as well. So yes, KDOT will absolutely be a major partner as we kind of move this project forward through the process.
So in listing these tools, I see that the bond council listed all of these tools, so as we move forward, each one of these tools are going to be justified and then voted on separately, saying these are some things that they would like to do in order to go ahead and complete the project? Is that what? So we're just listing all of the tools that potentially that they could use, but that doesn't necessarily mean they'll use them all? Is that what you're?
Potentially, I think at this point in the project, it is the developer's intent to use the
Each of
tax
them?
increment
Okay.
financing and the community improvement district, and kind of that bonding mechanism that's available through that. So I do think that is the intent of the
Okay.
developer as we go through this project. I don't anticipate that changing. Now, something drastically may change and they may come back and say, we don't need to move that forward, but I would not expect that at this time.
No, I appreciate that. May I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Garden City and S&K Cinema Holding Group Incorporated, DBA Icon Cinemas as written?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Now they'll really be able to say there's nothing to do. You can't say that anymore in Garden City once this is built, so there'll be a lot to do.
Duck pin bowling?
I don't even know what that is.
I know what it is.
I should have looked at. I should have looked at that.
For those that are interested, and it's a little bit shorter of a
Smaller
bowling
balls.
alley.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah, smaller
Yes.
goals.
It's fun. Okay.
Item 12C, Mayor and Commissioners, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an agreement for neighborhood and development services between the City of Garden City and Finney County. Danielle?
At the June 18th, 2024 City Commission meeting, the governing body provided notice to terminate the existing agreement between the City of Garden City and Finney County for neighborhood and development services. However, as noted at that City Commission meeting, the large working group that had met once previously to discuss the agreement had a meeting again in late June to continue the discussions about options for a new agreement. Coming out of those discussions, a new agreement has been drafted for consideration by both governing bodies. There are a number of items that by and large would remain the same, such as code enforcement inspections and planning commission governance, but there are also some notable changes included in this agreement being presented. First, the agreement outlines an immediate urban growth area. This area would be identified annually by Finney County, and developments within that area would be managed by city staff and evaluated for compliance with some or all city standards. The agreement allows for the city and county to enter into a separate agreement related to maintenance of infrastructure, but leaves the terms open to a project-by-project evaluation. All other developments within unincorporated Finney County would be managed by county staff. Additionally, county staff would be responsible for the work needed for the Finney County Board of Zoning Appeals cases. City staff would continue to provide administrative support to the board, however. Finally, there are a few specific changes that the county has requested and are incorporated in the version of the agreement that differ from the last version the city sent over to the county for consideration. The first is related to utility permits. Reference to a utility permit was added in the right-of-way permit section. Second relates to the floodplain. There were two changes made to this section. The first was to specify that the county engineer would be the responsible party for the engineering review for projects in unincorporated Finney County. And second was to clarify that this provision shall not obligate the county to provide a comprehensive floodplain study. 3, changes made to the septic system section, and that provides clarity that the county is responsible for setting the application fee as it relates to septic system permits. 4, there was some cleanup kind of throughout the document related to references and section numbers and that type of thing. But the most notable change was change number 5. So there was an additional section added. It was paragraph 32, which was added to account for a 6-month transition period. So while the effective date of this agreement would still be January 1, 2025, the implementation date and the transition to the new processes articulated in this agreement would not begin until July 1 of 2025. The city is appreciative of the large working group's effort to find solutions that meet the current needs of both organizations. The agreement was considered by the Board of County Commissioners at their meeting on October 21st, 2024, and was approved 5-0. Three alternatives before you today. The first is the governing body may approve the agreement for neighborhood and development services between the City of Garden City and Finney County as presented. Alternative 2, the governing body may defer the agreement for neighborhood and development services between the City of Garden City and Finney County to a future meeting. Or 3, the governing body may not approve the agreement for neighborhood and development services between the City of Garden City and Finney County and provide staff with alternative direction. Staff recommends approval of the agreement for NDS services between the City of Garden City and Finney County. Fiscal note related to this, the agreement maintains the current pay structure for 2025. This is an annual sum of $248,917.70 with the ability to increase that amount annually by 5% in each consecutive year. Additionally, the city would continue to receive building permit proceeds as that helps offset the cost of inspections. We've included in your agenda packet that agreement in full. Would be more than happy to answer any questions that any of you have.
One question and then one statement. Question is the sum of the 240, mine says 247,917?
Yes, I
Okay.
may have misspoken. I
Okay.
apologize. Yes, that is
That's,
the
no,
correct
that's
amount.
fine. I didn't know if you had a different document there than we had, but
No.
if there was an updated document, but.
No, sir.
Okay. I believe this, with the corrections that came from the county, their approval of 5-0 would be, I would say, a valid move on going ahead with the process, and what I'm thinking, but the implementation part for the date beginning July 1st would then restart on January 1st from then on in 2026?
So yes, so
Okay.
the effective date of this is still July 1. So this will still run in correspondence with the calendar year. So it'll still be a January 1 to December 31st.
Okay.
So we'll still be able to update 5% starting January 1 of next year. This just allows them kind of a grace period to get some
Sure.
additional staff hired.
Well, I appreciate the work that's been, this is a 3-year plus agreement. And so, I mean, the work that's gone into this, and I think making sure that it protects our staff and also protects the county staff with the understanding that we really want to work together. And to me, this really demonstrates that there are opportunities to work together as long as we clarify responsibilities. And so I just want to make sure and check, does this clarify the responsibilities for our NDS department? And do you feel comfortable as far as what we are proposing that we are willing to do in order to support the county?
Yes, I think it helps articulate kind of those swim lanes that we had talked about, and still allows for plenty of opportunities for the city and the county to continue to partner on services for NDS.
Any other questions?
Mayor, I make the motion we approve the Neighborhood and Development Services Agreement as presented.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Jimmy, I just appreciate your efforts too in getting that collaboration with county council. So I know it's a lot of work, but we appreciate you diving into that and doing your research and putting this to bed.
No, thank you, Mayor. It was a group effort, but thank you.
Yes, yes. But appreciate all of the work that went into it from everyone too. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an appointment to the Public Safety Advisory Board. Chief Pruitt.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. What you have before you is a request to consider and approve an appointment to the Public Safety Advisory Board. We currently have 6 vacant board positions. Those represent the Asian American, the business community, USD 457, and the GCHS and GCHS interest groups, as well as a county resident living outside the corporate limits of Garden City. Mark Shara Cruz has submitted an application and is recommended by the PSAB to fill the Asian American vacancy. His term would expire December of 2027 and is recommended for the appointment based on expertise and proactive involvement within the community. The PSAB has received additional applications from individuals interested in serving on the board and will reach out to those applicants about their interest and meeting criteria for other available vacancies. Alternatives before you. Number one, the governing body may approve to appoint Mark Shara Cruz to fill the Asian American vacancy on the PSAB with his term expiring in December of 2027. Or number two, the governing body may deny the appointment and recommend the PSAB continue to recruit board members. Our recommendation and the recommendation of the PSAB is the governing body approve appointing Mark Shara Cruz to fill the Asian American vacancy on the board. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And Mr. Cruz is not here today to join us, so.
Mayor, I make the motion we approve Mark Shara Cruz for the Public Safety Advisory Board.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the release for a request for proposals from qualified firms to provide professional services to design and develop construction documents, produce an artistic rendering, and estimated construction budgets for 3 projects at Lee Richardson Zoo. Those projects are a bird holding and viewing building, 7th Street Drive-In entrance, and wild horse and camel holding barns. And to appoint a commissioner to the selection committee. Christie.
Afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Before you is the question that Matt just stated, to consider and approve the release for a request for proposals from qualified firms to do everything he listed, provide professional services to design and develop construction documents, produce an artistic rendering and construction budget for the 3 projects that were listed, also to appoint a commissioner to the selection committee. As you probably know, Lee Richardson Zoo is a 50-acre facility that is free to pedestrians. The zoo offers on-site, off-site, and virtual programming. It is often the site of various community events and is open 361 days of the year. The zoo is accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums since 1986 and is a premier attraction for the city and the surrounding areas. In 2022, the Lee Richardson Zoo Master Plan was updated and approved by the Commission. The projects you're considering today are part of that master plan, and this step in their development was submitted as a 2024 capital improvement project. This project was selected as a priority project through the review of the CIP program, and the Commission funded, and it was funded in the 2024 budget. With the project funded, an RFP has been prepared to send out for submissions. Any submissions received will be reviewed by a selection committee composed of zoo staff, city administration, zoo advisory board member, Friends of the Zoo executive director and board member. Applications will be reviewed on their professional qualifications, specialized experience and technical competence, capacity to accomplish the required services on the agreed upon timeline and budget, past performance, understanding of the project, and quality assurance. The alternatives before you are to approve the release of the request for proposals and appoint a commissioner to the selection committee, approve the release of the request for proposals without appointing a commissioner to the selection committee, or decline the release of the request for proposals and decline to appoint a commissioner to the selection committee while offering staff other direction. Staff recommend approving the release of the request for proposals and appointing a commissioner to the selection committee. There is no fiscal impact at this time, although funds have been set aside to do the project once a qualified firm is selected.
Thank you, Christie. Is there any questions?
I move that we approve the release of the request for proposals and appoint a commissioner to the selection committee.
Do you have to name the commissioner?
Do we have to?
So I
thought you would name the commissioner.
Yeah. Well,
And allow the mayor to name a commissioner, so.
Have you reached out?
I had reached out to Commissioner Landgraf, and he has volunteered to be on that committee, so.
So I'll amend that to include Commissioner Landgraf on the committee.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. And good luck.
Item 12F, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a task order or orders from Wilson Engineering for assistance with a grant application for a pedestrian bridge.
Good
Danielle.
afternoon again, Mayor and Commissioners. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or bill, provides funding for a number of different programs, including the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, or the RAISE program. The RAISE program is intended to help provide investments in surface transportation infrastructure that will have a significant local or regional impact. The maximum award grant is $25 million. The grant can be used for both planning, environmental reviews, design, engineering, site analysis, etc., and construction. The city is interested in submitting a pedestrian bridge project that provides above-grade connectivity at or near the intersection of Spruce Street and the bypass. If the City Commission is interested in pursuing the 2025 RAISE grant for this project, there are two possible options to proceed with the grant application. Option one is the one we've labeled the expedited process. And so while the RAISE application suggests breaking up projects into both a planning application and a construction application, the program does allow the flexibility for communities to apply for both at the same time, so long as certain requirements are completed or nearly completed at the time an application is submitted. In order to apply for both a planning and construction grant, communities need to have an environmental review completed, documented discussions with the Kansas Department of Transportation, right-of-way acquisition plans, and description of public engagement if applicable. If the City Commission would like to move forward with the expedited process, both task orders included in your packet would need to be executed. The first is titled the Bypass Pedestrian Bridge RAISE Application, and that is to begin the work necessary on the following elements: discussions with KDOT, right-of-way acquisition plans, preliminary layout and design, public engagement plans, as well as project management and grant writing application administration. That task order is $59,970. The second, titled the Bypass Pedestrian Bridge NEPA Categorical Exclusion, is to begin the work related to the environmental review. That task order is in the amount of $20,656. If both task orders were approved, it would total $80,626. Option two is the one that we've labeled more of the traditional process, and that would include submitting an application specifically for just the planning portion of the project, and then follow it up, if approved, once we go through all of those steps and submit an application for the construction portion of the project. So that planning work includes completion of the environmental review, discussions with KDOT, right-of-way acquisition plans, preliminary design and layout, and an alternative locations analysis. So the alternative locations analysis would review and consider different locations for the overpass. The RAISE grant has set aside 5% of the available funds, which is $75 million of the $1.5 billion tied to this program, specifically for planning grants. If the governing body chooses to proceed with the more traditional process, direction would be needed to be given to reduce the scope of the first task order to only include the project management, grant writing and application administration, and very preliminary layout and design work. This could be capped at $30,000. If in this process, the city was successful with the planning grant, staff would then proceed with completion of all of the required elements listed above before moving forward with an application for construction in a future round of RAISE funding. We actually just got notice yesterday that the Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, came out related to this grant, and the grant will close at the end of January. So January 30th will be the application deadline for the 2025 raise program. So there are 3 alternatives before you. The first, the governing body may authorize the city manager to sign both task orders in the amount of $80,626 and direct staff to proceed with the expedited process and apply for both planning and construction funds in the 2025 raise application process. Alternative 2, the governing body may authorize the city manager to execute a modified task order for in the amount not to exceed $30,000 and direct staff to proceed with the traditional process and apply for planning funds for the 2025 raise grant application process. Or alternative 3, the governing body may direct staff not to proceed with either task order and not submit an application for the 2025 raise application. Staff does not have a recommendation. And the fiscal note, this is not a budgeted expenditure, and if the commission chooses to move forward, it would come out of the general fund balance. With that, I know that's a lot of information. I would be happy to answer any questions that you all have.
So if you get the planning grant, so if you start with the planning grant and you are approved for the planning grant, does that guarantee that you're going to approve for the other part of the grant, or is it the whole process starts over again?
It does not put you directly into that pipeline. You still do have to go through the award approval process again. It certainly does ensure that you have all of the necessary required elements done and completed so that you have a very strong application for the construction funding that's been identified.
And are they working with KDOT locally, or are they working with KDOT the state? Because this seems like a very quick timeline if you have to work with the state.
So it would, if we do more of the traditional process, it allows for much more prolongated conversations with KDOT, because you're right. If we apply for both and go down the expedited route, it would be very preliminary, kind of early, quick conversations with KDOT. That would still need to take place. We think we could still get that done. But if we go kind of more that traditional route, it certainly allows for a lot more dialogue to happen between the city and the state related to this application.
So is it the local, that's why I mean, we have a great relationship with our local KDOT people, but is it the KDOT local contingency, or is it the KDOT state contingency?
It would be both.
Okay. I'm more leaning toward the 30,000 preliminary, but.
That kind of gets us on track. It's still, I mean, it's something that, I mean, I can see it's needed for the community in that area. But again, it's something that's unbudgeted that we're going to have to spend. I mean, it's an investment of funds into something that we might not get. I mean, we'll get the design of it, but we're not for sure of what the construction cost and that's going to look like. And then working with KDOT, it's I don't know, I'm kind of torn on it. I think if we go more of the traditional route, just because the expedited route, it's a little bit more expensive, and then we're going through a lot of the unknowns on my end.
Well, it reminds me of like when we did the airport, it was prepared ahead of, and then the funding thing. So to me, I'm like you. I think if we had plans in place, then maybe, you know, that opportunity.
Kind of going back to like what we just approved for the zoo. If we have those available, ready to go and have construction.
Commissioner Nguyen, Landgraf, you got?
I'd be more in favor of doing the traditional route as well, just so that way with the budget concerns, as previously mentioned, and also that way if the funds are available and we are approved, we can just go through that process as well, so.
I move that we authorize the city manager to execute a modified task order in an amount not to exceed $30,000 and direct staff to proceed with the traditional process and apply for planning funds in the 2025 raise application process.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve alternative number 2. Any further discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion pass.
Thank you.
That gets us ready for the consent agenda. And if there aren't any items that the commission would like to pull off and discuss separately, the appropriate motion would be to approve items 13A through 13F. And Commissioner Landgraf has indicated he'd like for the record to reflect that he's abstaining from item 13C.
Mayor, I move we approve consent agenda items 13A through 13F.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Before I turn it over to you, Mayor, to guide us through the commissioner reports, I just would call attention to a letter that had also included a check that was sent to us from Finney County Historical Society. A thank you from their executive director, Steve Quakenbush. He was very complimentary of our cemetery staff, so congratulations to Jeremy Ortiz and his staff for going out of their way to prepare for the very popular Halloween tours and that are done each year. And so that group they sell out all their tickets, and they send a portion of those tickets to the city to be used for cemetery-related projects and preserving the history that is at Valley View Cemetery. So that was a nice letter from Steve, and we've passed along his compliments to the cemetery staff, but we thought you'd want to see that as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate that letter. So next items would be the commissioner reports, and we'll start with Commissioner Nguyen.
Yeah, thank you to Matt and Michelle for going out of their way to help Garden City be named as a Just Serve City. I think it's going to be a great resource for the youth and also for everyone included in Garden City. And then a couple weeks ago, we had the State of the City address. Great job, Mayor Ortiz. Thank you for that. But also, please take a look at their financial profile for 2025. Really great insights into what goes on in the budget, but also to have a little bit more appreciation for the work that happens in Garden City that impacts every facet of our lives. And then also, Mr. Mark Sherry Cruz is a great servant leader in our community. So it's great to see him to step up and be appointed to the PSAB board. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Next, Commissioner Unruh.
So I do want to say I did watch you on the broadcasting. So I watched all of you, so that was really interesting as you're seeing. You know, you don't really, well, I don't really watch the City Commission as after we've done them, but when you're not there and you get to watch them. So you all did, you looked great. You did a great job. So, and thank you for allowing me to miss. I just am so excited about all the potential, well, the incredible potential projects that not only we voted on today, but that are really happening. I know that was in a meeting with the city manager, he talked about we are probably busier now more with projects than we've ever been. And you think back in the past, I mean, all of the different projects with Shulman Crossing and all of the different things that have happened to our city, all of the incredible building that's happened. I'm really excited the way, you know, I love, Commissioner Cessna always reminds us that we are the regional hub of Southwest Kansas. So I believe that too. I really appreciated the pre-meeting today. I know that our legislative agendas are really important to have those lined up. I especially appreciate former Commissioner Shannon Dick's presentation. His presentations always leave me with more questions than answers. And so by the time he gets done fire hosing us with information, it really helps me understand that, you know, these are long-term decisions. I mean, that extend far past, you know, it's commission's past and then commission's present and then commission's future. But I do appreciate this idea of thinking about Highway 83 as a corridor project and also 450 as a corridor project, thinking about how we connect as a state. I think sometimes we do the east and west thing. Of course, the west is, you know, absolutely great. But this idea of really making sure we connect and understand that we are a state that really needs to be united in order to be successful. And so how do we better sell ourselves, making sure to those out there also. I do appreciate, I know that I can't imagine what Halloween's like for a police officer. I know when kids come to the door, so I really wanted to say thank you to all the staff. That's got to be a very long night and with all the different things that are happening. But I really appreciate our first responders. I know they do a really great job. I know I really appreciate the updates. from the police department and fire department. And I know that many of our first responders, including the sheriff department and the EMS, are busy all the time. I mean, you hear the sirens, you hope they're nothing serious, but unfortunately I'm glad that they're there to take care of us. And so with that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Next, Commissioner Cessna.
Mine's just brief, is today is Election Day, go vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Next, Commissioner Landgraf.
So I first just want to say congrats to the Garden City High School boys cross country team on getting the 6A state title. And if you look at the results, it wasn't even close. They, in racing terms, smoked them. So I'm really proud of them. Also, as Commissioner Cessna said, just want to remind folks that today is Election Day, that the polls are open until 7 p.m. If you go to the Finney County Clerk's Facebook profile, you can see a little link. You put your address, and it'll tell you where you need to go to vote. Also, just want to remind folks that this coming weekend is pheasant season, so I just want to remind folks to stay safe out there, and also want to welcome all the hunters that are coming to Garden City, Kansas for that opening day. And finally, I just want to first off thank Chief Pruitt for organizing a police ride-along for me on the 25th. And I also just want to say thank you to Officer Ralston for allowing me to ride along with them. It was a late night, but it was went by really quickly, and it's really great being able to see things from that point of view. So I greatly appreciate being able to do that.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I don't have a lot, don't want to repeat anything everyone else said, but thanks to all the staff that have been preparing up until this end of the year, all their work and dedication and sacrifices that they've had to make to meet year-ends budgets. So thanks to all their work. But I did have a question for Jared Coleman if he's around. If not, I can skip it. But I'd like to thank the Neighborhood and Development Services for the Dusty Trail. So Trent, thank you for the assessment on that to get that moving forward. It really is that's a main corridor into our city. So I think that with having that building be upkept, that it should be a really good site coming into our city. So thanks for that involvement with staff. Southwest Coalition, that vision of the future for not only just the Garden City, Dodge City, Liberal, but Southwest Kansas, it kind of makes you put into motion the fact that we need to be forward thinking into the process of what this region could be developed into, and how we need a lot of help to move this forward, not just from leadership personnel, but also from the community. So if we can do our job and educate the community on everything that we can, with Shannon's great presentations that he shares with us in these pre-meetings and things, but equipping the community with those visions, that what we can be is crucial for us to get further along and to showcase and to hear, get our voices heard in this region. So if we can continue that would be a great step. But Jared, I noticed you stepped into the room. I just have one question. First, I'd like to apologize. I missed the sales oversight meeting. I didn't report to you. I'll let you know that. But if you can just give us a brief update on the sales tax oversight, that would be good.
Yeah, so yesterday they conducted a tour at the station. And so it was nice for that group to be able to go see the project as it stands. The expenditures for that project are really going on through the end of this year, early next year. There is one question that was asked by the Sales Tax Oversight Board, is that the city, through internal financing, has put towards $4 million towards that project, mostly as a cash flow to kind of make sure the projects could keep moving forward. And so a question was raised as kind of when the timing of seeing that get paid back to the city or kind of come off the books. And so after the project completes next year and the expenditures are mainly done with the equipment, the apparatus, the ongoing cost will be the debt service every year, as well as the obligations for the operational cost of the station. And then we'll have a really clear picture on kind of what's the balance look like, how much can be paid back to the city, and try to kind of eliminate that temporary note that's been standing out for a while. So that's something that next year the commission will probably have an opportunity to weigh in on and decide how much to kind of cut off of that with a recommendation coming from that committee. But my guess is kind of summer next year into the fall, we'll have a little clearer picture on that. Up until then, we're just excited that it's ahead of schedule. Chief Ursick was able to kind of talk through the progress that they're seeing, and I think one thing he mentioned yesterday is we're waiting on glass because we're so far ahead of time. It's now a delay, but it wouldn't have been if we went ahead. So it's like, you create problems, but it's a good problem to have. So it's great to see the project moving along.
Yep. Thank you, Jared. And yeah, with that, the fire station is ahead of schedule by about 6 weeks, so that's a good note. But as Jared mentioned, there are a few hiccups with being ahead of schedule. So, yeah, thank you for that work. Thank you for Chief Pruitt also putting together a committee to look for alternate locations for them to move out so that the county can begin their process on renovations for the LEC. So that also is going to be a project in itself, and so the efforts there would be to involve everybody who is at play for an option to get LEC moving and into an environment where they need to be to work professionally. So appreciate all the efforts there too. So with that, I am done with my comments. So thank you everyone for coming. See you next time.
Good meeting, yeah.
Good work.
Thank you, guys.
Exciting meeting.